black and red. Blurredgum wouldn't let Eragon out of his sight. It made him stir uncomfortably. I told you I'll be fine. You don't need to come to the docks with me every time, Blurredgum. They were waiting for Oswald's boat scheduled to arrive that evening. Twice a year, the sailor travelled east from Alagasia, bringing letters, packages, and an occasional passenger. Many others made the same route, but Eragon always thought that Oswald was the one that brought much more than just the mail. He had information the others didn't. We have the same conversation for 16 years now, Master. And the outcome will always be the same. I will always accompany you to meet with the merchants. Eragon snorted in amusement. Remind me why again? The wolf-like elf shrugged, looking at the boat that had just arrived. Precaution. Right. You are very young, Master, and inexperienced in many things. One of them is to know the cunning nature of men and women. He pointed with his chin at the red-haired woman landing on the docks. I believe I can handle myself very well. Eragon said in an offended tone, but faltered at the sight of the woman, and this belief only proves my point. I'm staying. Eragon was mad for being treated like a defenseless child, but rested the matter. He had more important things to think about at the moment, such as the return of the woman walking toward him. Helena sought refuge in Mount Anga many years before, for she was an unregistered magician in the Brodding Kingdom. Eragon had offered her shelter and a position to work in the kitchens or on the farms, or whatever job she liked, except the one she used to have when living in Galbatorix's empire, and later in Nasuada's kingdom. She had taken the offer, but not long after that he found out that she was back at selling herself to the residents and the merchants at the docks. Eragon could not allow it, so he had to send her away. Now she was back, he wondered why. Such a welcome committee. I feel honored. She smiled at him and bowed provokingly. Eragon felt his cheeks burning. The first time they met, Helena treated him as potential client, but at his refusal, she thought it was the funniest thing to make him uncomfortable by her advances. She was obviously beautiful, the kind of beauty that made a person wonder what kind of hardships she had in her life, for it wasn't impressive or nearly perfect, but tired and real. Her forms were voluptuous as expected, but her appeal came from the way she carried herself as a free woman. A few times, Eragon felt himself at the verge of caving into her alluring game, just for the sake of pleasure. So maybe Blurredgum was right. Maybe he really needed help keeping away from trouble. We are not here to see you, woman, but it's curious that we met you, the elf said. Why don't you wait for us at the tavern? A tavern. I heard this place had improved over the years. It's a surprise to hear that you even included a spot where I could do my job. She came closer to Eragon after dropping her bag on the floor. She was so close, he could feel her breath on his face. How I missed you, Shadeslayer, she whispered. And I must say, you look absolutely amazing. Her eyes traveled through his entire body and back to his face. He gulped and tried to untangle himself from her seductive stare. Hello, Helena. I can't say I'm pleased to see you. She faked a hurt expression and smirked with malice. You say that now. Eragon sighed and stepped to the side. The tavern is over there. He pointed to the village by the river. You can order yourself dinner. It's on the house. Gentle as always. I really missed you. Helena laughed and followed the direction he pointed at, her red hair swaying on her back. Blurredgum looked at Eragon with a frown that screamed, I told you so very loudly. Let's just meet with Oswald and end the night, the rider said. In fact, you didn't have to come. I can receive the mail by myself, Blurredgum replied. I like to hear about the news he always brings, you know that. They walked to the boat from where Helena had just landed and looked for Oswald, the merchant and messenger. They called his name, and he appeared coming from the stern of the boat. With his only hand, he carried a big bag that Eragon knew to be the mail coming from west to the people of Anga. He raised his own hands to catch the bag as the man threw it to him. Good evening, Shadeslayer elf. How are you both faring? We are fine, Oswald. How about you? Eragon asked as he handed the bag to Blurdgarm. A little bored, you know. His gaping smile brought familiarity to Eragon, and he smiled back. I know, I know. The river is not like the sea, I get it. But you will be travelling south to the coast soon enough. For now, let me pay you a drink. How does that sound? It sounds bloody perfect, sir. Lead the way. Oswald jumped off the boat and patted Eragon on the back. I've been meaning to talk with you anyways. I've heard rumours, you know. Bad news, you know. He lowered his voice, so the people walking by them wouldn't hear as he passed his arm around Eragon's shoulders. He was at least 3 inches shorter than the rider, so the embrace felt like being pulled to the ground. I figured you would have heard something. We'll talk. They walked through the paved way that led the newcomers to the little village. Oswald grabbed Eragon very closely and spoke in his ear. His breath felt hot and wet. Rumour has it that the Queen is in deep, deep trouble. Nasuada. Why? That was news for Eragon, since he hadn't heard of any threats or uprisings against her lately. The land has been quiet for years. Oh no, Shadeslayer. Not our queen, the other one. He nodded in Blurdgarm's direction, lowering his voice even more, probably not knowing that the elf could hear him perfectly well. Eragon stopped his walk and looked at the man in shock. His heart was racing. What kind of trouble? Oswald looked around, but mainly he seemed uncomfortable with Blurdgarm's presence there, so he grabbed Eragon's arm and spun him so their backs were turned to the elf. They speak of treason. A horrid affair, you know, who speak. Oswald. Tell me, they're kind. He indicated Blurdgarm again. They conspire against her. Eragon knew that Arya's situation as queen must have not been easy, for she worried all the time. It didn't mean, however, that he suspected of some sort of conspiracy against her. It unsettled him tremendously, though. He wanted to talk freely with Oswald, so he ordered Blurdgarm to go ahead and start the conversation with Helena. The elf wasn't pleased, of course, and protested as he could. But then he saw the look in Eragon's eyes and relented. Alone with Oswald, Eragon pulled the man to a far spot in the darkness, away from the pathway and the come and go of the people. To add more security to their conversation, he cast a spell to block the curious ears. Tell me everything, Oswald. What kind of conspiracy? Who is betraying her? Is she in danger? Oswald frowned and wiped his brow. Listen, I don't know much. The elves aren't big talkers, but now and then they let it slip, you know. They think I'm stupid and are too full of themselves to consider that I'm capable of understanding their language. I learned how to listen to their riddles in their tongue, you know. It took me some time, but I'm proud of it. He was rambling, and Eragon was losing his patience. I know. Now spit it out, Oswald. He almost shook the sailor. Calm down. I didn't know you'd be this disturbed about this. But it makes sense. History speaks of your friendship with the Queen, so... Oswald, all right. I'll say it. He scratched his head and looked around before adding. I don't know how, when or where, but there are 2 or 3 elven lords that want her out. It's not like everyone that disagrees with her ruling conspires against her. No, that's not the case. They even respect her. But there's a select group, very dangerous people, that plot her downfall the same way they did to her mother and her father before that. They both died before it happened, so you can imagine for how long they are planning the coup. Eragon felt sick. His voice came out trembling when he spoke. What do you mean by downfall? Well, assassination, of course. His stomach sunk. They planned on killing Arya for power. A handful of elves, or not even that many, would rather see their queen dead than to live peacefully under her ruling. It was startling to realize that the darkness inhabited even the fairest of creatures. It was his time to grab Oswald by the shoulders. Oswald. How did you get to know about this? I told you. They speak, You are not allowed in Du Weldenvarden. And I doubt that an elf would willingly share their secrets with a stranger. Oswald shoved Eragon's hands away and furrowed his brows. Are you calling me a liar? Of course not. But I need to know for sure before I take any measures. This is of most importance, you must know that. Look, that's what I heard, all right. The elves don't stay hidden in their forest anymore. They roam all over the land. Alagaezia is not the same place you left behind, you know. Some would say it's a whole new land altogether. You would be surprised, Eragon reflected. That story was plausible, but not necessarily true. Why would an elf openly discuss the matters of their people to a human man? He didn't see it happening, unless they wanted the message to reach Eragon's ears. Maybe it was a cry for help or a trap, Saphira said through their bond. Do you know the person who told you that? Oswald shrugged. They all sort of look the same to me, except your friend, the wolf elf. And the ladies, he smiled. The ladies are something else, huh? So it was a male. The one who told you about this? Aye. He sounded noble. Looked like a prince too, with black hair, long and straight. But again, they all look noble, don't they? I guess he had blue eyes, but I couldn't know for sure. I didn't see his face very well. It was dark at the tavern, and he was wearing a cloak. Besides, I may have had one too many, you know, he laughed, but Eragon was not in the mood. You know, there's one person who might have seen his face pretty well, better than anyone else. Oswald's talent for suspense was starting to enrage Eragon. Who? The man pointed at the tavern where Blurdgarm and Helena were waiting for them. Without any hesitation, Eragon ended the spell and strode toward the place. Helena was leaning toward Blurdgarm, speaking in a hushed voice. Being a magician, she certainly had protected herself from his enticing smell, so Eragon figured she was trying to entice him instead. He cleared his throat to announce his arrival. She backed away from the elf and stared at Eragon. I thought you had forgotten about me. He pulled a chair and sat in front of her at the other side of the table, leaning on his elbows. Oswald sat beside him and helped himself from the jar full of ale on the table. Oswald just told me an interesting encounter he had with an elf. He said you were also there, so I need you to describe the elf for me. I don't know what are you talking about. I don't remember any elf. Her amused eyes turned into a casual expression, carefree, that had to mean she knew something. Oswald snorted. Of course you do. 2 months ago at Hedarth, the cloaked elf came to the trading post. I thought he would send a letter to one of his kind here in the east, but he just wanted to play runes. He paid me a drink and played. We had a bet, I lost. We talked a lot until he pointed at Helena, came to offer her services. I refused. I'm married, you know. But the elf seemed interested. Eragon's jaw dropped. He didn't remember to ever hear about elves requesting the services of prostitutes. That story was more shocking by the minute. He did. I can't imagine that. I'm telling you, Shadeslayer. The land isn't the same as the one you once knew. Oswald patted on Eragon's back and laughed out loud. Helena smiled softly and took a sip of her ale. Oh, that elf. I remember him well. And how did he look like? Why? Are you jealous? I swear he didn't look a bit as good as you, she laughed. Helena, focus. You can tease me later, but this is important. I need to know how he looked like, and if he said something to you. She became serious, and Eragon could perceive a certain stance of someone who wanted to negotiate. What do I get from telling you what you are asking? My gratitude, he tried. Not enough. Eragon sighed and rubbed his temples. What do you want? Helena slid her hand until she was touching his arm. You know what I want. His ears were in flames. He brought his fingers to brush his moustache as he thought about the situation. Not that. Ask for something else. She retrieved her hand and raised her shoulders. I was hoping for a roof to stay under. They are hunting me again. Her voice was low, and Eragon noticed sincerity for the first time in her speech. All right, you can work at the tavern. How does it sound? An equally sincere smile lit her face. But as a server, you don't have to sell your body here. You don't need money when you work in Anga, for we provide everything you need. You can stay if you wish. Is that enough? And you won't kick me out again? Don't cause any problems and you can stay, he repeated. Deal. She shook his hand. How about the elf? Once that her fidelity was his, he expected to gather more information. To be honest, he would have offered her a place to stay even if he didn't need her to talk. He didn't say much the whole time we were together. He was polite and treated me with respect, but other than that he didn't talk. I don't even know his name. Is there anything you remember that could help me identify him? A mark, an accent, anything? Helena looked away and bit her lip. A line appeared on her forehead. I guess there is. Let me see. His eyes were blue, and he had a long and straight black hair. His face was very angular, particularly angular, not like most elves that I've seen. Oh, and he said something about his age. That's good. What did he say? Eragon encouraged her to continue. Well, I joked that I probably was with a man many years older than me, but could never tell how much. He shook his head and said that his face matched his age pretty well, since he wasn't as old as most of his kind. He's young. He didn't look much older than you, or even me. He had just turned 33 years old and knew that Helena wasn't 40 yet. Eragon looked at Blurdgum. What do you think? He's most likely 40 or 50. I would say he has just come of age, at 30 years old, since that's the moment when our aging slows down to the point where it's almost unnoticeable. However, I don't know any elves that are young like that. I think Rainier is the only elf I know that's in his 30s. Rainier. He must know this man. They are both young. They must have stayed in line together to touch the dragon eggs. He jumped to his feet. Thank you, Helena. And remember our deal. You will work as a tavern keeper, and that's all. You can talk to Obby over there, and he will give you a place to stay and show you everything there is to know about the work. She tipped her head and let her malicious smile appear on her lips once again. I will remember not to sell my body, Shadeslayer. From now on, I'll only give it for free. Just so you know, Eragon pursed his lips as she laughed. Oswald also seemed entertained by her statement. In the end, even if it went against Eragon's morals, he thought that it was a healthy solution for their predicament. And again, he would have to learn how to accept. He bid them farewell, ordered dinner for the newcomers, and ran to the mountain with Blurdgum on his heels. He's not in his apartment, little one, Saphira said as he climbed up the stairs searching for Rainier. Can you find him, please? I'm trying. Now calm yourself. Saphira, you heard Oswald. The entire time he was away, Saphira kept herself vigilant but quiet inside his mind, except when she pointed out that he might be falling into a trap. That was how they usually dealt with their daily activities. They were each other's silent companion. I did. But you forget who they're planning on killing. It's Arya, exactly. How can I be calm? You're not thinking. Arya is probably the most skilled warrior alive, and she's a rider. Do you really think Fernan will let anything happen to her? Besides, the man said they are planning this for centuries, so what makes you think it's about to happen now? Fernan is not invulnerable, neither is Arya. And the fact that the information came to us can only mean urgency. I believe someone is trying to warn me. Even if it's a trap, I can't ignore it. Eragon could sense her frustration about his anxiety, but he couldn't help. I can't find him. What? Impossible. He's here somewhere. He halted. Rainier certainly don't want to be found and is blocking me. You're going to have to wait until tomorrow to talk with him. Search for Vance. She paused, and he could feel her mind looking around the mountain. He said Rainier is busy. It doesn't matter. I need to see him now. Eragon resumed running. Eragon, you will wait until tomorrow. I can't wait. Yes, you can. What difference will it make if you know who the elf is? You're still miles away from Arya. You can't protect her. Eragon widened his eyes. She was right. He couldn't protect her from half-world away. He had to go to her. Speeding up his steps, Eragon ran to the Hall of Colors. He needed to confer with the elders. So you wish to leave? Umaroth's voice sounded concerned inside his mind. Eragon was sitting on his heels in the Hall of Colors after telling the Eldenari about the news from West. I do. I have to. Why? She needs me. Why wouldn't anyone understand his urgency? It was his responsibility to keep Arya from harm, even if it demanded that he left his life behind. He had to go, does she? It appears to me that she is very capable of taking care of herself. The old dragon was calm, almost cold before Eragon's affliction. She doesn't know about the conspiracy. How would she be able to protect herself? What makes you think she doesn't know? Have you contacted her already? He sighed in frustration. The more they talked about it, more dangerous it was for Arya to be alone in Elismera. No, and even if I had, she wouldn't tell me anything. We have a pact of confidentiality. It appears, then, that you wish to go to fulfill your own desire if you don't know the real proportion of the problem. Of course I desire to go to her, that's clear. But I also want to keep her safe. Eragon's mind voice was almost desperate. You are acting in self-interest. How is that self-interest? I'm trying to save her. Are you completely convinced she needs you, specifically? If you are, you can go. Your oath won't hold you back. Eragon hesitated. What do you mean you made an oath as a rider to use your position only in benefit of others, never in self-benefit? I know. So, if you are the only solution for her problem, you won't be breaking your oath. But if there is another way and you are just trying to ease your own longing, then you cannot go, for it would require you to abandon your duty here to fulfill a desire. It's not fair. Am I not free to come and go? The others seemed to move around without any problems. Oftentimes, he was the one to remind others about the implications of being a rider. The sacrifices and hardships. It was disconcerting to be reminded of that himself, being Eragon the one who helped to forge the wordless oath, which was so powerful that the ancient language wasn't enough to bind the riders to their duties the same way. You are not like the others. Your duty requires you to stay. Their duties require them to move. I can't go to her. He was sad and beaten. If it means you are relinquishing your duties to do so, then no, you cannot. It's not fair. I believed you knew about this already. Why the surprise, child? Umaroth left the coldness behind and spoke with affection. He's not surprised. Glida spoke. He's heartbroken. It will pass. His master knew him well. Eragon was heartbroken, and has been for the longest time. He felt his chest aching, and his eyes watered. What if I am the only solution, are you? Umaroth asked. He hesitated again. No, he wasn't. Even in that same instant, he could think of at least 3 other ways of keeping Arya safe that didn't include him flying to Elismera. No. But what if I was? Then nothing could stop you, for you would have a duty more urgent than guarding us and teaching the riders. Your oath wouldn't hold you back, as I said before, for you would be abiding by it. I must be really needed somewhere else then, and only believing you are is not enough. Umaroth warned. Eragon nodded and rose to his feet. I understand. Glida filled his mind with his empathetic voice. I am sorry, boy. What if? He started but felt the words stuck in his throat. Yes, Umaroth encouraged. What if she? What if she dies? And it was my duty to go save her all along, but I didn't go, causing her to die. Glida intensified the amount of affection he poured through their connection, which was startling to Eragon, since the dragon wasn't the most prone to such expressions of emotion. You know what is your duty. And you know it is not in Alagazia, it's here. You know that. Make peace with it once and for all, for your own good. After 16 years since his departure from his homeland, Eragon still struggled with his new purpose in life. Every once in a while, he would think twice and force himself to see logic in the choice of leaving. He always did, and everything would fall to place again, just to be stirred one more time a little later. For everyone else, he was sure of his decision, but inside certainty would come and go, and anxiety filled his core. I will, don't worry. In the next day, Rainier told him that he couldn't think of anyone specifically that fit the description given by Helena. In fact, in his words, dark-haired, blue-eyed male fit a fifth of the elven population, so it was useless to try to find the man at that point. Eragon was devastated and feeling lost, but not enough to stop looking for the ideal solution, until he found one that was almost infallible. He looked in the scrying mirror and watched as the young woman at the other side considered his proposition. She didn't say anything for several minutes, and Eragon started to feel restless. Please, Elva. Please, keep her safe. I'll do anything, he pleaded once more. Elva was an exotic figure, with her black and wild hair and a pair of violet eyes, the Jedway Ignacia shining on her brow. Anything, how dangerous was to promise that to a powerful being such as Elva. Eragon shivered at the thought, but he felt it was worth it to see Arya alive and well for a long time. Just ask. If it's within my reach. Elva's amused smile sent another shiver through his body. I know what I want. I want to be Dragon Rider. Eragon widened his eyes. I don't have the power to decide who will be a rider or not. The dragon inside the egg makes the choice. Do you think I'm stupid, Shadeslayer? I know that, she said with bitterness. I wish to be introduced to all the eggs, and the new ones too, until one hatches for me. It may never happen to you. Still, I would like to have as many chances as possible. Is that something you can do? I hope my eggs never get touched by her. Eragon gave Saphira a side look. They were in the Eyrie in a bright spring morning. You decided to give both of them to the Order. They will have to be offered to her if I accept the deal. What do you say? He felt her hesitance. Is it Eragon? Is it Saphira? I won't do it without your approval. Saphira didn't respond with words. She simply showed an image of Arya inside his head, the one in which the elf was holding Eragon in an embrace during her lesson on navigating the air flows. He understood the message. Aye, it is. You will touch all the eggs as many times as you wish. Satisfaction filled her eyes. Tell the Queen I will arrive in 5 days. Thank you, Elva. Arya won't like it. Eragon thought of commenting that he would prefer an angry Arya with him than a lifeless one, but refrained himself. He was exhausted, mostly because he felt like a prisoner trying to rid himself of his shackles. The more he stirred, more hurt and tired he got. Actually, he had been in that position before in the tunnels of Drasleona, and in both cases there was the feeling of utmost horror and fear of losing her. He would do anything within his reach. Of that he was sure. No doubt about it.